Hello, everybody. Welcome to Launch into May. Oh, crap. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Launch into July with SpacesEDU, where we explore our new release for this month. My name is Tatiana. I am the Education Training and Engagement Specialist here at SpacesEDU, which basically means I help our teachers understand how to use the platform to its full potential based on their teaching practices and goals. But for the purpose of today, I'm here to recap what we introduced in the last release, which was in the month of May. And I'm also going to go over some of the updates coming up later this month for SpacesEDU free users, as well as one tiny update for those who are subscribed to the SpacesEDU Pro account. And I'm also going to give you a sneak peek of the October release, so we can touch a bit on that, but lots of exciting things coming up in the last leg of 2023. So most of the May enhancements and new features affected teacher users. However, there were two items that pertain to students and families, and those were the all work feed for students, where they could access prior posts and content across all their classes, even the ones that were archived. And families have access now to activity instructions, providing them more context when it comes to student submissions. Other notable mentions were the reporting space now having branding with your district logo and reference images. There are now proficiencies for areas of learning in the reporting space as well. And the space card can now contain pictures which are representative of what the space is being used for. And curriculum tags are now included in copied posts as well, so making that process a lot more easier and streamlined for you. And lastly, the selected curriculum tags appear at the top of the dialog now if you open up the curriculum tag dialog. So that makes it easier for you to select a proficiency or just for visibility. It's definitely more accessible that way. And one of the most exciting updates this year is our activities overhaul. Of course, if you haven't activated this quick review yet in the backend, you can still do this by editing an activity that you've already created, and to get a sneak peek of the first version of this revamp that we released in May. Now, teachers are able to update proficiencies in the draft stage. Curriculum tags become more visible and accessible as well. And we removed confirmation dialogues, meaning that you now have a streamlined workflow and reduced number of clicks. We went from 11 down to 2 clicks to assess students quickly using activities. So that was the big update, I would say, for May. And for this release, the biggest, I guess, update is the activity quick review for version 2. And this is the big overhaul. It's getting a whole makeover. In May, you just saw a sneak peek. But for this month's release, you can expect a brand new activity quick review table. If you thought the May release version was awesome, wait until you see this one. We've made activities more flexible for you to optimize the process. And you may even recognize your product feedback in some of these updates as well. And this product enhancement is one of our largest updates. So I would highly recommend playing around with the new activity interface to familiarize yourself with the new workflow and naming conventions before the beginning of the school year. And the second smallest update is the ability to edit imported class names. And this is mostly for our SpacesEDU Pro users, those who are doing class rostering. You will now be able to personalize the names of your classes. So let's dive into updates or enhancements that affect all SpacesEDU users. The first one being now teachers receive notifications for family comments. So just to give you some context, teachers currently miss potential comments from family members as they don't receive notifications for posts they themselves haven't commented on. So this update solves this by sending teachers notifications whenever a family member's comment on a post. So you do have to toggle this on from your notification settings. So it is optional if you don't want to be bombarded with notifications, but at least this gives you the flexibility and the ability to turn this on and off. So you're still, staying updated throughout the year. Teachers will also now have the ability to edit any post within SpacesEDU, regardless of who created the content. Previously, you only had the ability to delete student or teacher posts and not edit them. So now this will become a possibility regardless of who the author is for the post. Really exciting. And speaking of student posts, you can now toggle on in your settings to enable or disable the ability for students to delete their own posts or their own content. And this ensures that your comments and work are not at risk of being lost because of student deletions. So you have the ability to turn this on or off at any point during the year. And now for the update we've all been waiting for. Drum roll, please. The new activity quick review. The activity quick review table. Now this shows you all your students and their progress while also providing you with quick access options to add content on their behalf, comment on student work, and assign proficiencies, and even modify statuses. So what's really different here? Well, instructions have been moved to their own tab to reduce clutter at the top of the activity view, as you can see here. And the previous save and next button has been updated to submit and next whenever you open up one of these activities here. And the teacher will be submitting this with this action versus drafting content. And you will also have the option to draft in the header as well. But the most important part here is the increased flexibility when it comes to activities. You have the ability to easily switch the status of an activity submission from here, from these drop downs themselves. You can move locked activities or submissions back to submitted or in progress. So really play around with the statuses, which is something you didn't have access to in the past or still currently don't until this update. And you also have the option to edit, assign activities and submission posts. You will now have an edit button available on the activity submissions to make quick changes. So if you catch a spelling error or you need to make a rapid edit, you can click on the pencil, make your edits and save changes. You can make these changes, regardless of the activity state. And if the activity has already been posted to the space, those changes will be synced in both places, which is really exciting, making this update dynamic. So regardless of where you choose to make those updates, it will be reflected across the board. You will also have the ability to post a space via the new dialog. So quickly post a bunch of activity submissions to their respective space in just a couple clicks, because you can see here the button on the top right. So you will be made aware of which activities still lack submissions when you click this button, but you will still be able to post the activity regardless of whether or not there is content submitted. If an assessment has been applied, we will create an empty activity submission to hold the assessment for you. So this will be posted to the space in question with the activity title and the assessment you provided. So you don't need to attach any content or, whether that's text or media to the submission. As for the proficiency table, right here at the second tab on this interface. The proficiency table will be more dynamic with this update, allowing you to update proficiencies more easily without worrying about the activity status. So again, regardless of where you decide to update the proficiency, whether that's from the activity quick review table here or in the post, wherever the activity was posted to, all of that is dynamic and gets updated across the board. This is something you were not able to do or still not able to do until this release. And another great feature here, making activities even more flexible, is the ability for students to unsubmit their own activities. So currently when the student submits an activity, it locks it for them and they are unable to retrieve that submission. But now the teachers can enable this option for students to unsubmit their own activity submissions. And this can be enabled through the process of creating activities. So if you enable this, students will be able to unsubmit until the submission has been locked by the teacher. So if you lock the submission, they won't be able to unsubmit anything for that matter. So definitely a great little feature that we're introducing. We've been getting lots of feedback about this, that once they receive an activity, if a student, submit something by mistake, then it is on the teacher to ask for resubmission. And so it just adds more steps to your workflow. And this is meant to empower students to just unsubmit their own activity and resubmit as needed. We are also going to introduce new naming conventions within activities. So we are renaming states or statuses within activities to better align with expectations. So whenever you click a button, you know exactly what action is going to take place. So reviewed will now become locked, meaning you can't make any changes. Published will become posted, so you know that when you're publishing something, it gets posted to the space that you've selected. Completed will not become closed, meaning the activity is done and dusted. You can, it moves to another state where you can't use it anymore. As for SpacesEDU Pro users, as I mentioned earlier, you can now edit imported class names. So for those on class rostering, if you remember, sometimes the class names that get imported or don't necessarily make sense or align with how you want to be identified on SpacesEDU. So just to reduce the challenges of differentiating classes that share similar codes or names, you now have the option of personalizing this in the backend from your teacher account. So definitely a great addition to our updates here. And in terms of what's coming up in October 2023, lots of exciting updates, I will say, for both free and pro users. You'll notice within the SpacesEDU platform that we have text limits in place for a variety of areas, such as post descriptions, summary statements, etc. We'll be increasing those limits actually. So for messages, you will now be able to use up to 1,200 characters, and for everything else, up to 5,000 characters. Very exciting there. And we've heard you, and we're working towards providing educators with a refined posting flow. This means eliminating redundant clicks by having everything you need available within a single screen. So that makes the process much more user-friendly. And I'm personally very excited for you to try the new posting updates. This is meant to simplify the user experience, similarly to how we are doing it for the activity quick review table. And another popular teacher request, accidentally selected the incorrect space for an activity. That's okay. You will be able to easily switch the space assigned by editing an activity. Another great new addition. Now, granting you even more flexibility when it comes to activities. And the most awaited product update for our Pro Plus users are student portfolio templates. So schools or districts can create customized student-led portfolios for groups or entire grade levels. They're tied directly to the student, and they live outside of the classroom. Students can add evidence from across SpacesEDU or directly to their personal portfolios. So definitely something I'm excited to dive into in October and showcase all the fun things you can do with student portfolio templates. And if you want to stay up to date, please be sure to connect with us on our social media accounts through Twitter and Facebook. And we're also on YouTube. We have a podcast called Growth Over Grades. So definitely check those out to stay updated throughout the school year and even during the summer months. We are always communicating what we're up to on our social channels. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm very excited about what's coming up this July when it comes to the new release, but for sure, October is also very exciting. So if you have any questions about these new features or these enhancements, please contact our support team at hello@spacesedu.com. Otherwise, feel free to browse our knowledge-based articles at help.spacesedu.com for any technical questions that you may have. Again, thank you so much for joining me today. I am very excited for you to try all these new updates and look forward to connecting soon in October to review new updates again. Take care. Bye.